Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining the show tonight. We really do appreciate you being here. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you tell your friends about us. Hope they can join us too to have some fun with us. The more the merrier. Before we start the show, I want to introduce you to Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters, welcome.
Creator of the world, as modelers and makers, we recognize the intricacy and the beauty of our world. We thank you for the vision and the artistry you have given us. Continue to bless us with your creative spirit. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father. You do so much for our show. We really do appreciate all of your contributions. Now I want to run the sponsors video for our show, Dennis Brennan's Model Railroading Company.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wanky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Now I want you to hear a little bit from Greg Cassidy about the upcoming My Bill on the show for the month of September. Greg, welcome. Obviously, Greg is not here.
No, I'm here. I'm just muted, or I was muted. Okay, so I've got the My Build up, and our upcoming My Build is going to be September 18th. And this is going to be a free-for-all one that is featuring you. So what we'd like to see is projects that you've finished, or projects that you're working on, or projects that you're contemplating and might want to show us your plans or ask a couple questions about it. What we'd like you to do is get your pictures in to railrunner130@hotmail.com. Now, that's Chris's email, and he should be back. He is still coming back from his little adventure up north. He'd like you to get the photos to him by September 15th. And again, that email is railrunner130@hotmail.com. And the My Build will be presented on the September 18th show. So I think that's all I have, Jim. Back to you.
Thank you. We were really kind of disappointed at the My Bill that we had for August last week. We only had 6 people, and we've been averaging many more than that. So I hope that you're not tired of it. I hope that a lot of modelers want to participate in it and show us what you've built. It doesn't have to be something you built yesterday. It can be whenever you built it. Doesn't even have to be finished. It can be under construction. But we would like to see what you're working on. I know a lot of you out there are building models, and we'd like to see them and hear what you have to say about them, and what issues you ran into, maybe how you conquered those issues and made everything perfect, and why it's such a gorgeous structure. So we really hope that you'll participate in the My Build, because it's going to help all of us become better modelers. Our newsletter that Martin Breckbiel, MMR, edits is coming out the 1st of September. The only thing that Martin needs is to get the link for one of the segments of tonight's show. And once he has that from Earl Hackett, then he'll be able to put it to bed and to issue our September the 1st newsletter. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I think it's got a lot of great information in it. And I think Martin is doing a fantastic job putting it together for us. Scholarship. I want to talk first about the challenge grant of $500 that Bob Davidson announced as the kickoff challenge to this year's fundraising program. And I'd like to announce that we have successfully matched that $500 challenge grant. And the modelers who helped us do that are Greg Cassidy, Father Ron Walters, Jamie Bothwell, Michael Glonitsky. I hope that's the correct pronunciation. It probably isn't, but I hope it's reasonably accurate. Rich Randall, Steve Sherrill, Pat Rivard, Jeff Zigley, Jeff Jordan. To all of you, thank you so very much for all your help. It was really a thrill to see the last amount of money that we needed come in to be able to get the match. The final total that we were able to raise for the match was $535. So we exceeded the match by $35. And I can't thank everybody enough that contributed. That was really great help for the scholarship. And I'd like to see another challenge. So if somebody would be interested in doing the challenge grant, let me know. It can be any amount that you're comfortable with. We would just like to have more challenge grants. I think that they're fun. I think it's interesting for the community to see us being able to match it from other people in the community. And I think it adds something to our scholarship effort, because I think it gets more people involved. And I think that's great for the effort that we're trying to do here. I think it's wonderful that we're able to get organizations like Amherst to contribute $1,000. I think that's great. But I also think it's great that people that want to contribute 10 or 20 or 30 or $40 to the scholarship fund, because those are the people that are going to help these young kids not only get an education, but probably stay in our hobby and become the leaders of our hobby down the road. And I truly believe that that's what's important for the future of our hobby. We've got to get the young people involved now so that they'll come back like we all did after they've gone through college, after they've been married and had a family and bought a home and settled into a career. And then all of a sudden, they remember the fun and enjoyment and challenge of model railroading that they had as a kid, that we as adults are now helping them to become involved in. So if you can see your way clear to offer a challenge grant, my email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. I look forward to hearing from you. If not, if you'd like to make a contribution, we have a QR code that I'd like to show you now, if we can get it on the screen. And all you have to do, and I did it a few minutes ago, and I was successful, so anybody can do it, is you point your cell phone at it, you go to your camera, the yellow rectangle that appears on inside the camera, and if you click on that, immediately the Jiffy comes up, and then the amount of money that you want to contribute, you just check that box, you've made your contribution. It's as simple as that. And it does work. I'm sorry to say that the QR code we used last week didn't work. We didn't know it didn't work when we published it. But that's not the only problem we had last week. We also didn't have a live streaming show on YouTube last week. We didn't know that for quite a while, but we got that. We didn't ever get that fixed on the show, but we have got it. We have now posted what the show was on our YouTube channel. So I apologize for all of the issues that we had last week. It wasn't anybody's particular fault, although it was my fault, because I hate to see things like that happen to our show. I hate to disappoint people. It's the first time in going on 5 years that we've been doing these shows that we didn't have one that people could watch on YouTube at the same time they could watch it on Zoom. And for that, that's my fault. And I'm seriously apologizing to you for that error. I hope that it doesn't happen again. Can't guarantee it, because this is a live show and mistakes happen, and nothing that we can do about that except try to do our best to make sure they don't happen again. And I assure you, I'm trying to do that. But this one's on me, and I'm sorry about it. Well, with all that said, I hope that you'll go to our QR code and consider a donation, because it does work this time, and it is live on both Zoom and YouTube channels. Now I want to introduce two people, Joel Weber and Sherri Johnson, to talk about the new S-scale scene that 3 companies are putting together. And I'll leave it up to Joel and to Sherri to discuss and to talk about the rollout of it for the pre-orders at Joel's convention in October. I think it starts on the 25th of October in St. Louis. So Sherri, Joel, I'll turn it over to you all.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be back. I think the easiest way to kind of show what this scene is all about, the animated transfer station, is to go ahead and show a little video. Now, this video is very preliminary on what we're doing. It is definitely not even close to being finished, but it will give you an idea of the animation and what to expect or what to see what's coming. So let me go ahead and start this up. And that noise you hear isn't actually the model. That is my spouse cleaning up the freezer. But as you can see, we're going to have the transfer building. It's going to have a spot for freight cars, box cars, tractor trailers, and we're going to have a ride-on pallet jack that moves through the transfer station out onto the loading dock and back. Some of the scenery details that you see here will be included in the scene. We're excited about that. Things are definitely coming together there. I'm also going to briefly show, we have a product page up and available, and I will be posting a link to that in the comments and up on the New Tracks Facebook page, where you can actually get more information, see some more videos, and also sign up to be notified when the pre-order actually starts. We actually have a cute little countdown going there. Hopefully everybody can see that. You can see it's October 25th is the start of the convention. So that is our countdown date. We're 57 days and 17 hours away. And we've got the logos there from all of us who are together. But like I said, I'll share a link to this because it has a lot of information on here of what's in the set, what's coming, and a link to some additional videos. Again, we're excited about this. And like I said, I'm going to put a link in the chat and a QR code if it'll let me in the chat. I can go ahead and briefly put that QR code up here too if you all would like me to do that. Figure out how to do it. There we go. There you go. There is the QR code if y'all want to take some quick shots of that. Again, like I said, I'm going to put the URL up on the New Tracks and in the chat. And that way you can get a little more information on that. I'll leave that up. Joel, what do you have to say? Because you're going to talk about it rolling out at the convention.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen real quick. I mean, this is always a challenge for me. Technology and I are not always good friends with each other. The S-Fest 2024, and I'm going to go through this real quick. The S-Fest is a S-gauge, S-scale train held annually every year. 4 clubs, and I say 3 to 4 because the state line S-gaugers have kind of shrunk, and I'm not sure they're going to participate in the continued rotation, but we're Chicago, Southeast Wisconsin, St. Louis area. It's ostensibly a swap meet at its core of S-gauge and S-scale trains and related merchandise. But as part of it, too, we hold clinics that are related to the hobby, and they range from electronics to scenery building to maintenance. We do a model contest, and you see some really nice work at that. We generally have at least one operating display at the convention. And then on the day after, on Sunday, there's tours of local layouts, which will include mine. We feature convention cars, a speaker at an auction at a banquet. For instance, this year, American Models TOFC cars are featured. We generally, every show generally picks something that's got a little bit of tie to the local area. You know, Missouri Pacific and Chicago and Eastern Illinois are something we chose this year. So the way to sign up for it is you go to our website. You can just Google AFSG SLA, which stands for American Flyer S-Gauge St. Louis area. We also show a link there. No limit on attendees. Our tables are limited. In fact, we're almost sold out. The convention cars were already 2/3 sold, so we're doing very well there. Looks like we're going to have a nice show this year, and really everybody just enjoys getting together and sharing information and seeing old friends and a chance to pick up a few more things for the layout, because, you know, we always need a little bit of that. So that's really what it, that's at core what it is. And you did see that video, right? Nobody said we didn't. Not a video, a presentation.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
All right. Well,
No.
Hold on here. Let me try this. Is that better?
No, don't see anything, Joel.
All right.
You're not sharing screen, I don't think.
Well, I'm trying. Thought I had shared before. Do we have a screen now?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so everything else was conversation. I'll show the quick picture of the train cars that we have for this year. But the number one thing besides everything that I said was our website, so that you can sign up. As I said, we've got almost all the tables are sold. We're running ahead of last year's convention in terms of attendees signing up so far. So we're very encouraged about the convention for this year. And as I said, layout tours and all that sort of thing. So it's really about sharing our hobby with each other, and all basically, cored around S-scale, because S-gauge is S-scale. Something that we all participate and enjoy and have for many, many years. If I have any questions, we can obviously do a quick, anybody got any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Joel or for Sherri?
And we're very excited this year to be the kickoff for the project with the scale scene. It's going to be featured at the convention. The initial sign up is tied to the convention. So we're pretty excited about being a part of that. And I've been part of a group to help the manufacturers kind of focus in on how to hit the mark, so to speak. Had some contribution there and that type of thing, not just from my S-scale experience, but frankly, with the building, because I've been in logistics all my life, that was able to contribute input based on that as well.
That's been most
I Joel is the chairman of the S scale and the S gauge committee that we assembled to work with the three manufacturers on making sure that everybody was going down the same road as far as what the structure and what the animation and what freight cars and what tractor trailers and so forth, and how the core of the scene was going to be created. So it should be something that's going to appeal to a wide range of S-scale model railroaders, S-scale farm modelers, and frankly, other people in the S-scale die-cast hobbies, such as the military modelers, the construction modelers, and that kind of thing. So everybody involved with S-scale, anything, of any kind of hobby, should be interested in this project, particularly because it's animated. And I think Sherri really has done an outstanding job on that part of it, as have the other two manufacturers on their parts. So we're really pleased about that. The new tracks modeling table will be next to the American models tables at the convention. So hope you'll stop by and say hello and consider making a contribution to our scholarship. We selected this Joel's convention because Joel and his people wanted to work with the manufacturers, and they wanted to work with us. And they went out of their way to form the committee of volunteers, and they've gone out of their way to participate in a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of give and take with the three manufacturers. And we couldn't have asked for a better partner from the modeler standpoint to work with these three manufacturers. So Joel, thank you so much for your group's participation, and for you and your committee's involvement with this project.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Well, you're all very welcome.
So Sherri, you got anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. Oh, aside from, we're rolling it out for pre-orders starting when S-Fest starts, but we're also offering pre-orders during the month of November. And I know that there's going to be a link in the newsletter. And again, I'm going to be sharing the links too, so that you can get signed up, so that you will know when the pre-order becomes available. So in case you don't want to have to remember to do your pre-order, if you're not going to S-Fest, you can get on a mailing list. So once that becomes available, we'll let you know that you can sign up for the pre-order.
And the newsletter she's talking about is the New Tracks Modeling newsletter that Martin Breckbiel, NMRA, edits. And the website she's talking about is the newtracksmodeling.com website. If you go to that website and subscribe to it, you'll automatically get the newsletters, and therefore you'll be able to automatically be able to have the newsletter for November that's going to feature this project in it, and again be able to get you the same kind of discount that you'll receive at the pre-order tables when you buy it at Joel's convention. So everybody may not be able to attend Joel's convention because of travel or other commitments or whatever. And that's why we're extending it, and that's why we're using our newsletter. But we're hoping, frankly, that we can repay Joel and all of his committee members and club members for their effort by getting them some additional people attending their convention. And that's why we're doing the pre-order at their convention, to try to work with them best we can to encourage people to attend. So Sherri, thanks so much to you and American Models, Karen, and Alan Rogers and his company, New Creations, Victorian Railroad Buildings out in California. You all have just done a great job, and we sure do appreciate it and enjoy working with you.
We need rain.
Thank you. Now I want to go to G-scale modeling, and that involves the sponsor, who is New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings, LLC, which is owned by Alan Rogers in California.
Welcome to New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings, located in Bakersfield, California, 1 hour from the famed Tehachapi Loop. As part of building his model railroad layout, Alan Rogers took photos and made scale drawings of a number of buildings in the Southwest, many of which no longer exist. New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings has turned these photos and drawings into kits with laser-cut wood, 3D printed components and detailed instructions. We produce kits in HO, O, S, N and G scales. Our O scale kits are compatible with Holiday Village dioramas. You can see our products at train shows or use the QR code to visit our website. We hope you will try our unique kits. They are easy and fun to build, even for beginners. You will enjoy the finished models for many years to come.
And now I want to introduce the host for this segment of G-Scale Modeling, Steve Bittinger. Steve, welcome.
Good evening, Jim and everybody else. If it's noisy in the background, it's because we're just getting hit with a big thunderstorm right now. So we'll see if we can compete. First things up, since Alan Rogers was just on there a minute ago, here you go. Got this yesterday from the United States Post Office. This is going to be a unboxing event, according to Mr. Sherrill, at our future dates when we get into this Build Along series. So we look forward to opening that and getting going with that in the near future. For tonight, two subjects. Here's the first one. I bought this car, believe it or not, for $10, and it was in horrible condition. It had no wheels, no trucks, no nothing. It was missing a lot of parts. So I got it pieced back together again. And actually, what I want to do with this, I want to weather this car. I'm going to do it a little different. We're going to see how it works out. I'm going to set this car outside, and we're going to leave it out. And about once a week, we're going to rotate it side to side so the exposure, the sunlight is about the same. I've never done this before. Who knows what we're going to get, but I'm looking to make it look like it's a 20-year plus old car serving on my railroad. Since it's plastic, we won't get the same effect that you would for a metal car. So got an idea on that. My idea on that is to take these. These are iron cut concrete nails, and they have no galvanizing, so they will rust like crazy. So I am going to set this car outside and randomly put some of these iron cut nails over the top of it. And then we're just going to let the weather corrode those nails, let it run down over the sides and ends, and we'll see what we get. So each time that we're back on the show on a monthly basis, we'll bring the car back. We'll show you what it looks like and whether it was a success or maybe a great big failure. So if anybody out there's ever tried this before, let me know how it went for you. Because I've never heard of this, but I'm willing to give it a good shot. Anybody got any suggestions on that? We'll take those as well too before we get started on that.
Hey, Steve, what about putting a little bit of steel wool on the roof as well?
Okay, I'll put a piece on there for you. Sounds good. Anything else? So we'll have nails and steel wool on there. We'll see how that goes. So last week, somehow a lady from near Frankfort, Kentucky was directed to me because her husband is getting ready to retire. He's 62 years old, going into semi-retirement, and he wants to do a G-scale outdoor railroad. And she was asking if I could send them information on how he should get started and what he should be doing. So I thought, rather than just correspond with this lady, why not make it part of this program for anybody who's considering doing the same? So I will say I looked up what magazine or booklet or instruction you could buy on building an outdoor railroad. Most of those publications, believe it or not, were written back in the mid-1980s, early 90s, when all of us were a whole lot younger. We could get down on the ground with not so much of a problem. Knees and backs weren't an issue. Secondly, the perspective that you get when trains are down at your feet is way different than when they're up closer to your eye level. My own layout personally is elevated. And I went to the effort to do that. Yes, it does cost more than being on the ground, Actually, I think probably G scale per square foot is probably the most expensive layout to build, given all the things you have to go through. So with this lady's name is Sarah, with her in mind, maybe she's watching tonight, I do not know. I thought I'll just come up with a basic generic design that a lot of people could use. Secondly, that can be expanded in the future. And the important thing when you first start is don't try to take on too much at once. You know, build it with the idea that you're going to add on to it later. Track, switches, all these things in G-Scale are expensive. Your best bet is to start acquiring it ahead of time. You can get it used, join a club, see if there are people in the club who are maybe getting out of it or have stuff that they're no longer using that you can acquire, because the pocketbook will get drained very quickly when you try to do it at full retail prices. Maybe a good opportunity at a show, something like that, where you can pick up equipment. So with that in mind, we're going to get our plan out here. And Steve's going to hopefully adjust that so that you can see this.
Alan, can you spotlight him, please? Thank you.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. So what we have, we take a look at this very quickly. This is the outside dimensions that we have. This end down here is a little over 12 feet. Up the side here, we're about 25 feet. Along the back side, almost 30. This piece and this being equal. And these two pieces here, 17 feet and another 12. The idea of this design is that you could expand it once, twice, 3 times in the future. Also, the idea is that it's not that big of a reach. If you're reaching in around this layout, we don't have a track plan. I did that on purpose because anybody can come up with the one they like. But we're going to see here that this is probably very functional for any type of idea that you want to do. Over here on the side, we have 2 views I drew. You can see I went to great effort at this very fancy drawing. Down here at the bottom, we're looking at stack up of material. Here we're looking at an expanded view, looking inside of it. So I did a couple of things. I did a little research about what can you build this out of. First of all, why to have the raised bed? Well, I think I explained that to you. One, it's more convenient to use. Secondly, your trains look a lot better. So how high should it be? I'll tell you right now, the answer to that is the human anatomy determines that. You need this to be as high as your knees as a minimum. You think about how you function with your body. And I measured my knees. I'm at 25 inches. My legs are short. I'm not a tall person. This, when we get done with this, is going to be a 28. So Steve Sherrill's playing with my yardstick at the moment. But we're looking at something. I don't know if that's on there or not. There we go. There's the height that our finished layout is going to be, 28 inches tall. Working with that height, a couple of ways to go on this. First of all, you could go to landscape blocks. They're available in 4, 6, 8-inch rises and stack those. These prices I'm going to give you are for every linear foot of construction. Landscape blocks are going to cost you $4.80 a linear foot to build with. That's just the blocks, not any other materials you need to install those. Second choice is your generic concrete block, 8 by 8 by 16 inches long. Those are going to cost you $2.25 a linear foot, or just about half the price of a landscape block. Next choice is pressure treated lumber, 6 by 6s stacked up. It's going to be your most expensive. Foot of pressure treat at the moment is $4.80 a foot. So it may be a little easier to work with, but definitely on the higher price. The most reasonable way to go is to get grade B used railroad ties. I looked up on Marketplace, and indeed there are railroad ties for sale on Marketplace near these people's address in Frankfort, Kentucky. The asking price for grade Bs at the moment is about $15. And grade Bs are good, solid ties. They're not worn out. Some of the railroads buy them for second-class use. Yes, transportation will be on added to all of these items. When you buy it, you're going to have to move it to your site. So I didn't add the cost of transportation, but that would be in every case something you have to consider. So given that, and that these folks are perhaps on a budget, I'm going to build this in my plans using the railroad ties. Our standard railroad tie is 8 feet 6 inches long. I've worked that into this plan where we can have a full tie, cut the next one in half, and we have to lap our corners for construction reasons, and that's going to work out very well with almost no waste in the project. For the project, we will need 52 railroad ties, and if we do our math, that will cost us $780 for our ties. This is our most expensive item in building this project. Second item, we're going to need 1/2 inch rebar, 16 inches long. These are used when you drill down through the ties, you drive them down to lock one to the next. I've built plenty of layouts for people and retaining walls on construction sites, and this is exactly how we do it. The third item we're going to need is a moisture barrier on the inside. So we're going to take, if we look at my cross section over here, when we build this, here's a stack up that we're looking at. We're going to tack 6 mil poly is the heaviest you would need. You can get by with 3. And we're going to drape it down on the inside and just let the tail of it lay here to the bottom. We just want to create a moisture barrier so all the water is directed down. 2 kind of ways you can go about this. You can buy 6 mil black or clear poly, and it's going to cost you about $30 for what we need for this. Another way to go about that, believe it or not, is to buy trash bags. You can go into Home Depot, Lowe's, or any of those places, and you'll find what they call contractors' trash bags. These are a little bigger than most. Usually they're black. I just priced them. They're selling them at the moment. You get a box of 50 for $30. We only need about 40 to line the inside of this width. So what you'll be doing is taking the trash bag, which is just about the shape of this, draping it down, tacking it along the top of our wall, and you're going to lap the next one at the seam here a little bit as you go all the way around. Nice thing about that, if you have any trash bags left over, you just use them at your house, so there's no waste. On the very bottom, down here at the very bottom, the first 4 inches of the tie, that is dug into the ground. Now, I don't know what their site is like. Maybe it's pretty level, maybe it's sloping. It really doesn't matter. Either way, you're just going to be scratching out a little more material at the high end to get down and match your grade. So we're going to lose 4 inches of our height overall when we're done. If we stack up our ties, we're going to have 4 courses. It'll be 32 inches minus what we lose. We're going to get that 28 inches that I mentioned to you in the very beginning. In addition to that, on the very bottom in my little sketch here, these little things you see here, this is broken rubber. Don't go to the quarry and order a couple of tons of stone. It's going to cost you. I just called the other day. We're looking at about $21 a ton for this material. You're going to need a lot of it. I suggest, and I've done this, we have a brick plant very close to us operated by Continental Clay. They have many, many bricks that come out deformed or are seconds. They dump these things behind the plant, eventually just run over with a big dozer and crush them and use them as backfill. If you go to the plant, you can buy those for 5 cents each. We don't care if it's the whole brick, part of the brick, it doesn't matter because we're going to break them up anyway. And we're going to use them as our drainage stone in the very bottom, all over our entire site. You can get broken concrete blocks, anything of that nature. A lot of the home supply stores, if they have blocks that get broken, they get on the dumpster. So just go over and say, hey, listen, if you got any busted up block, I'll come and haul it away from you. I'm a great person for going and getting things that are free that people want to get rid of. It's a great source. Next thing that you could put in here would just be to gather regular stone. Maybe you got a farmer in your area. They pick their stone off every spring if they can. Usually they'll leave it in rows at the end of fields. Ask the farmer, hey, can I go down to the end of your field and remove some of that stone? And I guarantee he's going to say yes, because he'd love to get that stone out of there. One more thing we're going to need to do is all the ground underneath here is going to need to be sterilized. You can go to Walmart. I just checked, $6.50. You can get pre-mixed sterilizer. It'll sterilize that whole area for that price. $7 bucks, you're all done. And then the last thing we're going to need to do is we've got to fill this up, right? So we got 8 inches of our rubble on the bottom. We now have to put in there, what, another 20 inches or more, depending on how high you want your scenery to be, of fill material. Number one place to get fill material, contact every swimming pool company in your region. When they dig a swimming pool, I just had a guy call me, they had 4 loads coming out of a swimming pool. They wanted to know if I would take it. They want to get rid of it as close to where they're working as possible. Free. They'll just haul it and dump it for you for free. There's no reason to buy and pay for fill for in this site. So with those things I told you, we have spent $780 for railroad ties, $108 for rebar. We're going to need 90 of them. $30 for 6 mil poly or trash bags. Our rubble and broken material, $0. Vegetation sterilizer, $6.50, and our fill dirt, hopefully for free. Our total bill is $925. The layout is 500 square feet. Per square foot cost, and this is ready to go, is $1.85. And I have a feeling right now, if I was going to build benchwork for you indoors, I probably might not be able to build it for $1.85. I question that the price of lumber at the moment. So I think that if you start ahead of time, don't wait till the day you're ready to go and say, oh, I got to run to the building supply place and buy all these materials. No, you need to start like 2 years ahead and gather up materials so that when you're ready to get going, you have the materials there. So with all that said, we'll see where this leads to. I'm actually going to use this plan, and next month when I come back, I'm going to have built on top of this plan the exterior retaining wall and so forth, so we see the project as it materializes and we go along. Hopefully in about 3 shows worth, we'll be all the way up and we'll have a scale model, and then I'm going to start asking all of those of you who want to suggest what is the track plan that we're going to put on here. We'll see how many recommendations I get. It's a blank slate for somebody to create. And somebody was laughing a while ago, but you know, I like to recycle. I got a whole bunch of vending machine fronts. I got RC Cola, Canada Dry, Pepsi, Coke, you name it. I got all kinds of these things because we have a factory near here that makes the fronts for vending machines, and they cleaned their warehouse out recently. And these are like 30 years old. They've been laying out there, but it's 1/4-inch plexiglass and 1/8 inch, and it is really nice material. Great for making buildings out of, windows, you name it. And the best price, it's free.
Steve, you talked about the cost of the track and the switches. I think it's per foot. I think it's very comparable with HO, definitely O scale. You're talking $3, $4 a foot for that, sometimes more now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm not up on what these gauges cost. Here's what I can tell you recently as far as a track you could buy. Used track, depending on the condition it's in, has been anywhere from $3 a foot, about $3 a foot for good track that's readily usable. Brand new track is $11 a foot at the moment. No matter who the manufacturer is, that's just about where it is.
Mhm.
So you can readily see that your cost to do track work is highly dependent on where you get your materials. Now, switches are a different matter because you know now you need a specific type of switch or left or right, etc. But if you search and you're very good about going to shows and seeking out people, you'll find them. You'll find what you want.
Anybody have any questions for Steve? Steve, I think this was fantastic. I'll tell you, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. I'm looking forward to the next show from you because this is fantastic. Thank you so very much.
Well, I hope our lady in Tennessee follows along with us.
Well, I hope she does too. And once you get further along, I hope she'll join us on the show and give us her comments about how she thinks all this is going for her.
Well, it's not every man that has a woman looking out for him for trains. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. See you next time.
Good evening.
Well, now I want to introduce David Vaughn. David Vaughn is an O-scale two-rail modeler, and he is president of O-Scale Central. And I want to have him tell us a little bit about what's going on with O-Scale Central. So David, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to feel my way along on this whole technology thing a little bit too. I've got some photographs I want to share at a point in the presentation. And unless I'm going to do something that freaks out the administrators of the show, I'm going to click screen share so I can at least get a little bit of a running start on that. Is that all right, guys?
You got it.
All right, let's see. Bingo. Magic. Nope, not quite magic. All right. Okay. Thanks again, Jim, for the opportunity. O-Scale Central is a organization that promotes O-Scale 2-rail and supports modelers in the scale. And we have a considerable number of programs, including a scale-wide product and service guide for 2-rail O-Scale so people can find what's available. We do a quarterly journal. We do a monthly online program, which I know Jim Kello knows about because he regularly participates. Martin Breckbiel pretty regularly participates. We've got a lot of stuff going on. And I'm going to give you just one little slice of what we do to carry out our mission. We have a great scale. You will never find a 2-rail O-Scale modeler who isn't proud beyond all belief in the scale. We think it's got a lot of advantages, including a great way to get detail, great mass in the models, which is reflected in performance, and a really wonderful scale to build models in. So we start with a good product when we are promoting it. And it is a rather well-kept secret. O-Scale has gotten below the radar of the different scales. It used to be a very prominent scale, but has sort of been slowly sliding as a percentage of the hobby over a period of time. And we regard our job as both reversing that trend and even better to share our secret and get people involved in modeling O-Scale 2-rail. So it's a high mission. When we get the opportunity, it's a good sell because we have a good scale to do it with. But we are workhorses, not show horses, and we think that our best efforts are doing things with people in small groups, one-on-one, sharing our experience, sharing our enthusiasm about the scale. We had a great opportunity to show off at the recent St. Louis RPM. And I don't know whether you all are familiar with the St. Louis RPM, which is actually held in Illinois. But it is an extremely well-organized show. Lonnie Bathurst and his committee do a great job. And in the show that I'm going to tell you about, which was held in July of 2024, they had almost 1,000 modelers at the show. And as you know, the RPM guys are very high, they are into high levels of detail and prototype accuracy. And we think every RPM modeler should consider O-scale 2-rail because we've got the detail and the mass and the ability to really show off prototype accuracy in ways that the smaller scales are really challenged to do that. And we put together a program for the St. Louis RPM show that I want to share with you. And in fairness, we think any scale could probably do it. And we'll have some, I'll have some suggestions as to what worked and maybe what didn't. And it could be used by any scale, as I said. We just happen to have a particularly good scale. And this is part of our outreach to show what O-scale can do for individual modelers. And we started with a display table, and the display table has a couple of things that are important in doing the sale. The St. Louis RPM has what they call learning stations. So they pride themselves on encouraging interaction between the vendors and the historical societies and the people who are behind the table and the modelers who are attending. So we had a variety of literature describing the scale, describing what O-scale Central does. And we had a number of magazines that people could paw through, showing successful O-scale layouts that had been featured before. And we had a larger screen TV playing on a continual basis O-scale 2-rail videos. Most people at a train show of any kind are walking pretty briskly as they walk the aisles because they're looking for the next great bargain or they're looking for the thing they saw on the last pass through. So unless you've got something to reach out and grab them, they are going to keep on moving. The TV with the videos attracts people. They stop, they look, they get involved in conversations with the people that we had working on the show, and we are able to then to tell our stories, deal with the questions they may have about O-scale, and it all starts with a well thought out program like this. We think O-scale 2-rail is particularly impressive when you can see live trains running and when you can try and punch holes in the myths that keep many people from exploring O-scale. This is an 8x16 sectional layout, which Jim Cantor in Indianapolis put together. He basically said, wait a minute, the standard in HO scale is 4x8. Most people think you have to have a gymnasium or a football stadium or something to do O-scale. Let me show you what the O-scale equivalent of a 4x8 layout looks like. So he built this. He takes it around to shows. He's got a trailer. Two guys can unload and get this thing set up in about 45 minutes. And when it's there, we'll see some more shots of it as we go through. When it's working, you can see the O-scale trains moving. And compared to the smaller scales, O-scale trains are just good looking. Now, and very impressive. When I told you about the learning stations, what the St. Louis RPM people are doing is trying to encourage this interaction. So you're not simply shooting the bull, you're actually teaching skills, soliciting questions, offering tips, and so on. And in this particular shot, we have DCC installations in O-scale engines. And there you can see a couple of the folks who were there actually teaching skills, answering questions. It's a very interactive process. And obviously it's part of selling not only the scale, but the community. We worked in conjunction with the Big Bend Model Railroad Club, which is a St. Louis O-scale two-rail layout, which has been around for a long time. So we were not only promoting the scale and familiarizing people with O-scale Central, but we were also soliciting memberships and participation in the local club. These are the folks who worked on this. We had people who had the learning stations. We had people operating the layout. We had people who were serving as resource people when attendees at the show would come up and ask questions. And I will tell you, it was a lot of fun meeting people. We probably had a couple hundred substantive interactions during the course of the show. But we also had a lot of fun together. You start out in any model railroading venture thinking that it's all about the equipment and the hardware and the new acquisitions. But as you go through, you find out that it's really much more about the people and the relationships and the experience that you have had been able to share with each other. So we had a great time in addition to doing what we think was a great service to the scale. The RPM meets, as you may know, have heavy emphasis on equipment display. And one of the problems that we are trying to tackle is that O-scale historically has been somewhat insular and has not done a lot to actually display the models. So it's not at all unusual to go to an RPM meet where they will have hundreds of models stacked across the tables and only find a very small number of O-scale two-rail models. So we tried to encourage people, not only the guys who were working on the team, but all of the O-scalers that we knew to go ahead and bring O-scale equipment. And I will say that the development of 3D printing and CAD-based modeling is going to help everybody, but it's particularly going to help the O-scalers because as a smaller scale, we have much less ability to have vendors investing in tooling to come up with new models, to make the minimum orders that you need to do conventional model production, and to carry the inventories that it also requires. We had a number of very creative O-scalers who have used CAD-based tooling, in other words, no tooling, just the drawings, and 3D printing to do some very, very sophisticated modeling. These components are all 3D printed, designed to fit on standard models like the Atlas SW8. Here are some models based on a very relatively low-priced, not sophisticated Weaver GP38 model. And a fella had done several different road names and several different variations on that modeling. Note that the models in O-scale sort of tower over the HO scale and N scale models in the background left. The tooling that we have been able to do, I use tooling in quotes because it's basically CAD, can be used to great advantage in working with off-the-shelf models and making new variations. This is a variation, I think, on it may even be an MTH drive, but fairly pedestrian in its origin, but made up in a very imaginative way for a model that is unique. This model is still under construction. Okay, let me boop, 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 boop. I'm trying to figure out, okay, let's do this and then go back. And I've got one other short. There we go. Yes, this is part of that 8x16 sectional layout. And as you can see, you have a very visible, very realistic layout. This happens to be a nickel plate layout, which is my favorite railroad. So I'm always happy to see Jim Cantor do his work. And these are interesting engines. The one on the right is particularly interesting. It is a very recent import from Sunset Third Rail of a nickel plate SD40-2. For those of you who are at least moderately familiar with nickel plate, they never had SD40-2s because they were taken over, raped and pillaged by the Norfolk and Western in 1964. But we have imagineered a universe where nickel plate did not take over. And we have had Sunset Third Rail working with us to do some of these imagineered prototypes, and we've had a lot of fun. These are very well designed, well produced engines that are basically off the shelf and for not all that much more than high quality HO would be.
David, we got to wrap this up.
Okay, I will tell you that we have lessons learned from this whole thing. Selling the scale is important, and we have a great product and easy sale. People are looking to find for what O-scale shows, which is detail, mass, and ease of modeling. People have a lot of misimpressions about OS2R. Having people there, having an operating layout helps set that at ease. And outreach works. It really does. This is a small slice of what's going on with O-Scale Central right now. But if you have more questions or want to learn more, our website is oscalecentral.com. I'm sorry, .org. .com. Anyway, that's it. I appreciate you letting me give an update on what we're up to. Thank you.
Well, David, I can't thank you enough for being here. For anybody's information, you may remember I write the New Tracks modeling column for O-Scale Resource Magazine. And the issue that's coming out at the end of September has a major feature that I've written on David's organization, O-Scale Central. It talks about why I believe it is an organization that every O-Scale modeler should be a member of. It talks about why I believe David is the new sheriff in town for O-Scale. And he has done, in my opinion, a fantastic job bringing this organization to what I believe is the future for O-Scale promotion in our hobby. I truly believe that all of us can benefit by trying to improve and increase the image that O-scale modeling has in the model railroad community. I don't believe in the past that that's been done properly, and I'm convinced that David is part of the answer to that issue. So if you can see your way clear, I encourage you to go to their website and take a look. But before you do that, just wait until the end of September and read the article. It's a long article, I'll tell you that, I'm going in. Every month in my articles after this, including starting in the issue that I'll be sending over in November, I've asked David to tell us what the O-Scale Central has done for you lately. I hear all the time, what's it do? I don't hear about it. Where is it? What is it? Well, David is going to have an opportunity, as he has tonight, to try to give you a feel for what O-Scale Central is all about and what they're trying to accomplish and what they are accomplishing. And to answer the question, what on earth does O-Scale Central do? He's also going to get an option in every one of my articles from now on to tell us what O-Scale Central is doing for us. I think that you're going to see a tremendous benefit at a very, very small, almost cheap way of being a participant in our O-Scale hobby if you are an O-Scaler. And I encourage you to read my article. And if you think well enough of it after reading the article, I wholly encourage you to go to the website and take a look at the information that I suggest you take a look at and see if you don't reach the same conclusion I did. This is an organization that an O-Scale traction guy like me needs to be a member of, and I am. And it's also an organization that I believe every one of our O-Scale members ought to also join. So David, thank you so much for being here this evening. I look forward to you coming back. You'll be back again next month. Got David scheduled once a month now to come and talk to us about this organization. So he's going to either have to do something or he's going to look awfully foolish coming and saying, well, we didn't do anything this month. That's it. Goodbye. So we'll see what he says when he comes back next month. David, thank you so much.
We're looking for people to try out an O-Scale kit. You don't have to convert. You don't have to sell your existing scale. Try it. You'll like it. And thank you, Jim, for the very kind words, for the opportunity. And thank you, by the way, for everything you do, getting up in the morning every day, thinking, what can I do to improve the hobby and give modelers more satisfaction? So thank you for what you do.
By the way, I'll give one manufacturer a plug. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do it. All Nation Hobbies has what they call a basic car kit. This is an O-Scale freight car, $30. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but you can add those. And it has a complete kit that's more expensive with all those bells and whistles. But you want to try out O-Scale? Give it a try for $30. You'll get a great wooden O-Scale car and see how you like it. David, thanks so much. See you next month and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, now I want to turn to Tom Farrell, who's going to be talking about scratch building his layout. And it is a wonderful, wonderful layout. Tom, welcome.
Thank you again for having me. I have an interesting build this evening. We'll leave it at that. This was, I was contacted from Facebook July 8th via private messenger to scratch build field hospital for a fellow ON30 modeler who's constructing a logging operation themed layout. I don't normally do contract work, but this was a special case. This was for the memory of his autistic son who has recently passed away. And his son really liked logging and wanted this whimsical field hospital scene. So I agreed to take on the project, and it took me about 3 days. I mean, I just shipped it today. It took me three or 4 days, I guess, of work to make this structure. So let me Let me start here. So this is Dr. I'm a Butcher Field Hospital. So just visible. Okay. General surgery, amputations, teeth extracted, headache powders, liniments, and elixirs. This is the finished structure, and I'll show you how I made it. And there's our good surgeon. I started the project, as all my projects, with a piece of plywood and a sketch. I wound up not putting in the outhouse, but these are skids. It's a logging operation, so they drag the hospital around where they're logging. In this case, it's semi-permanent, as you'll see later. So the first thing I did is take 12 by 12s, and I, with a razor saw, I scored them to get a wood grain. And then with a pair of channel locks, I crushed the ends. It's a foot and 3.5 inches wide, just to put it in perspective. So then I put the flooring on. These are 2x6s, and I stained them with actually driftwood. I didn't use the medium brown here, just the driftwood. It's a nice effect. Then I built up a frame with 4x4s, scale 4x4s. First I built these two sides, and then I built these ends. This is a tent frame. Then I asked my wife for a pillowcase that she didn't want anymore, and I began cutting it into little pieces. And I super glued it onto the front of this structure I built. And then with a very thin super glue, I kind of soaked it a little bit, made it really stiff. And I did that for the whole model. And then I went back with a fingernail file and filed all these fuzzies and all this stuff off. So I had relatively smooth corners. And then I coated it with this polyscale dust, which gave me took the white pillowcase and sort of gave it an off-white weathered look about it. It also helped seal the thing up, gave it a little stiffness. The next up, again, with the 2x6s, I stained them with that medium brown and light brown, and just randomly put them on the perimeter of the tent. So the tent's semi-permanent. Then I took a grant line door and just glued it on there. Later, I pulled this board off and this board off, and I put a frame around this. Little oversight by me. Then I went out to the front yard and got some sticks that looked approximately 6 inches in diameter. And I cut them to make this frame for the rain fly. I put the other one in over here, and then with that same wood, I thought, I've never constructed a fence with, quote, real wood. So I thought I'd make it really rustic. After all, we are on a logging operation. So basically they drag this thing around. Yeah, is the theory. And then for the rain fly, I constructed this frame, put a 2x6 across that. Here's that frame I had to add later. It's all very rough. It was fun. It was a fun build because it was not precise. And then I put the rain fly on, and I wanted it a different color. When I was a Boy Scout, our tents were this greenish color. So I mixed this with white and green and came up with this, and stained it with blue-gray stain, and came off as a pretty effective rain fly. And I thought, as a little twist, as you'll see, one of the ties have come loose and the corner's blown off. You'll see how that looks here in a minute. And then I thought I'd put in another fence and a graveyard. And I'll get to what I call the graveyard in a moment. But so I just wanted a really random junky fence. Basically, they just slap together. These are 3D printed. I had these left over from a previous project. Then with Elmer's glue, I painted the whole substrate here, and I sprinkled first a brown ground cover, then I sprinkled it with green, then I sprinkled a stone pathway in here, then I soaked everything with Woodland Scenics cement. That's always my technique. Paint everything with 100% undiluted Elmer's glue, sprinkle down whatever materials I want that I'm using, and then I soak it with the Woodland Scenic cement. It dries flat. It adheres very well to just about any surface. So this is looking down. These are the grave. The idea was to show that they were fresh burials, and great staff, little tent flap that's blowing in the wind because it's become untied. And we jump right to the finished model. I put these ties down. They're just super glued, very fine string. These are Art Deco plaster castings. I just painted them up. These are old flooring towel. That old flooring towel, I just use this for walls and stones. I made 2 steps here. I inserted a 2x8 here and here. I thought this was too great of a span. I bloodied the good doctor up, and put on my line. We thought a little whimsical. There's my fence. There's the graveyard. I added another cross. There's looking down. There's the tree I put in. That's a super tree where you just spray it with an adhesive, and then I sprinkled fall colors on there from Woodland Scenics. I put in a barrel here, a water barrel, and that's that tree. They do a pretty reasonable job. I don't know if you've ever used the super trees. They provide a nice framework. I trimmed it with scissors and sort of shaped it. Then I made it the fall scene, so I put some leaves, quote unquote, on the ground. There's a close-up of the tree. I mean, it's not perfect, but it works here. I did spray everything with dull coat, which is my trademark. Everything I do always gets sprayed with dull coat, everything. The signs, the fences, the trees, everything. There's a close-up of the strings. They're just super glued on there. And then I go back and I paint so you can't tell that they look like they're woven into the rainfly. There's another overall view of it. It's a nice little scene, and it can drop right into a layout. Another close-up. It looks quite rustic. I don't really like to do work like this because when I give something away, it's like giving away a child. I don't do contract work, but I made an exception. I went back and I added a couple signs to this graveyard. I just thought I asked him what period he models. He said the 1940s. So I looked up 1940 advertisements on Google. I printed some out and just cut them out, stained the backside with a brownish color, and then I painted the back with pure Elmer's glue, stuck them on there. And then I painted them with the fronts with a paintable dull coat to seal everything up, because I had already sprayed the whole thing with dull coat. I didn't want to hit it again. There's my graveyard. This is dry now. You can see the stone walkway. This is the reverse side. I decided not to put the wood, the back side, not to put the wood across the back. I wanted to show the tent. And there's the back of the sign and the back of the fence. This looks quite good. I'm not sure if I like that tree or not, but this looks very interesting. I'm going to use this fence. This first time I ever did a fence like this, or used any real wood like this. I'm going to do this again on my layout. Somewhere I'm going to put a fence like that. I think it looks cool. So overall again. And that's basically it. Yeah. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Tom?
How in the world did you package that for shipment?
I put it in a plastic bag. Then I put bubble wrap underneath it. And then I put crunched paper all around the sides, top, and put it in a U.S. Postal Service. I forget what they call it. I got one nearby, but no, it didn't shake. When I shook it, it didn't move around. So it'll arrive just fine. Yep. $18 to California. That's
Great
on.
job. Thank you so very much.
All right.
Well, now I'd like to turn to William Smith. We've been hearing some people talk about their model railroad. Well, Bill actually worked for a real railroad, the Union Pacific. So Bill, welcome. Love to hear about your tales.
I don't see him.
Okay, he must have had a conflict or something came up. Don't know. So let me now turn to Steve Sherrill for his What Do You Want to Talk About? And this has turned out to be one of the great segments of our shows. So Steve, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about that storm that was at Steve's house and I came across town. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even see, coming down in buckets. So, tonight I want to talk about an opportunity. This opportunity every model railroader faces. I'm sure that at one time or another, you've all had to make a decision about, am I going to change scales? Am I going to change gauges? Well, I've come to a decision that I'm going to do some ON18. That's O scale running on N scale track. So I have, I hope to take you through my adventures in this scale. I've already built a layout on a bookshelf. Now, ON18 is kind of unique, and in fact, it's all freelance. There's no prototype that I know of. You know, and with the 3D printing guys out here, they're making all these nice little attractive engines, and it's very appealing. And so I said, well, I'll get an engine and I'll go through the motions. And so I did. And it's a unique experience to, you know, go from ON30 to ON18. I'm sure that everyone who's watching has gone through this kind of a change. Now, why did I do it? Well, it's an opportunity for something new. I also think that this ON18 is what ON30 was when it came to existence about 1999. I think that this is where we're going to get new modelers. It's an inexpensive entry into model railroading. It's running on an N-scale track. It doesn't take up much room. You can build to your heart's content. You'll have to do everything that you do in other scales, except you can use 4-inch radius curves. That's right, 4-inch radius. So the bookshelf layout that I have built, so even surprised me that you could get something to go around a 4-inch radius curve, and it gives you an opportunity to create things. I've created my own coupler system. I'm waiting for cars to be 3D printed so I can use those. And I'm just having a lot of fun with this. And so I hope to take you all along as I've taken pictures during the construction. Next week, I will be able to show you some of the items that I have built, and maybe introduce you to some of the ON18 cars. Now, these are not Craftsman kits by any stretch of the imagination. They're just fun things to build and play with. I'm sure that, like I said before, all of you probably are not in the same scale or gauge that you were in originally. So if I ask you, hey, what scale did you start out in? You'd probably say HO, but now I'm in ON3. Or I was in N scale, now I'm in HO. Or HO, now I'm in ON30. This is just a natural trend, I believe, that we always want to try something new. Now, this little layout is only 9 inches wide, and it's 27 inches long, because that's the bookshelf that my wife had hidden. I got it. She didn't know I got that bookshelf. So with that said, you know, I've used all the scenery techniques that I've used on my big layout. And you've seen some of the micro layouts that I've built already. I've shared them with you and showed them pictures and stuff like this. This ON18 layout will be on display at Timonium at the New Tracks scholarship table. So I will be showing that if you're in the area and want to see it. Now, it's unique in another way that it's going to be battery powered and have sound. Now, that doesn't mean the battery is going to be in the engines. It's just going to be battery powered. Now, I hooked the battery to the layout today, and it ran on over 6 hours. In fact, it's still running. I cut the grass, it came back, it's still running. I had lunch, it's still running. So batteries will run these layouts forever. So I would just, is there any questions on any of this stuff? Because when you see this, you're going to say, wow, this is really neat little stuff. I will say this, if you go on YouTube and look up Thunder Mesa Studios, that's Dave Meek, he has a section where he shows ON18 locomotives that he has built for his railroad. None of mine are like his, but it's an introduction that shows you what you can do. The 3D printing that is being produced is just outstanding. The quality is wonderful. The prices are very reasonable. And it's an excellent way to get started in another scale and gauge. So that's about all I have tonight. Is there any questions?
Are the batteries rechargeable, Steve?
Sure.
Okay.
Now, you have to follow along with the layout build and you'll understand what I'm talking about. All right. And I probably could make each individual battery powered, but it's no sense in it. The layouts are so small that, you know, you only have 2 wires hooking everything up, believe it or not. You know, and they run on 4-inch radius. You cannot believe how sharp 4-inch radius is. It's unbelievable. I'm just fascinated with this stuff. And it doesn't look too bad. You know, it's pretty decent railroad. But I think that when people see it, they'll be able to say, hey, I could build one like that. Well, I'll start out with this, and then maybe I'll go to something else. It's not a layout that you're going to have a 24 by 32. I mean, it's just so small, you'd be silly to do that. If you had something a 4x8, 4x6, or a shelf layout, it's a perfect shelf layout. Run along a wall. Broad curves in this are 15 to 18 inches. That's a broad curve. So most of the curves are down in the 4 and 6 inch radius. I'm also going to build a holiday layout on a cutting board that I'm going to give to my daughter for Christmas. She doesn't know it yet, so don't tell her. Because she's a big decorator. And so I'm going to do that for her. And that's going to have a 6-inch radius. So next week, I'll be able to show you some of the products. And maybe you'll be interested. Maybe we can start a build sometime in the future here. If Jim can get it scheduled. So are there any more questions? Because I tell you, this stuff is really, if you have a layout in the basement that you can't get there anymore, you can build one of these and have it right on the coffee table, you know? And when you're done with it, you put it up in the bookshelf. You're still running trains and having fun, and you can take it to somebody's house that maybe is ill, and they can enjoy it. You can take it to a train show. The one that I'm building is going to be self-contained, and we don't have to have any electric hookup. It's all going to be a battery controlled, and so you won't have to get where there's an outlet.
Well, I know how I build my trolley radius at 9 inches for O scale. How in the world do you build a 4-inch radius?
Well, you just keep bending that track until it just almost breaks. No. The whole layout is only 3 sections of 30-inch track. All right. And that includes the siding. But I just bent the track around and got it. I used a cork road bed, and I did a little work on setting up the radius, but it's on a 4-inch radius. I actually had clearance on a 9-inch. I had enough room on the sides that the train would run around. It's got like an inch or so on each side. So it's not bad. It actually looks pretty decent. I showed you.
I can't wait to see you build this. I'll get it scheduled because I want to see you build this.
Well, I may have 2 built by then.
Anybody have any more questions for Steve? Steve, thank you so very much. And like I say, I'm really looking forward to seeing you build this because this really sounds interesting. It's something that we haven't done on the show before.
Well, I'm looking forward to it too. I got to take a lot of pictures of the products I used, the stuff that I had, and some of it was 40-year-old products. I don't even know if they make it anymore. I'll have to find out. But yes, it's very, very cheap to build, very inexpensive.
Well, thank you so very much for telling us about it, and look forward to seeing you build this on the show.
Okay.
Well, I haven't heard from anybody about a challenge, and we don't have a challenge right now for our scholarship. So give it some thought. Doesn't make any difference how much it is. We just need a challenge, something to promote and to get other modelers interested in trying to match. And we really would appreciate your consideration of offering one. My email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Now it's time for our caboose. And this is the last caboose that we have recorded. So if you have something that you think would be of interest, please send it to Pat, and Pat can put his email in the chat function so that he can get it recorded and we can use it in the future. Because if you like the caboose segments that we run, this is the last one that we've got recorded. So Pat, if you would, please. Well, Pat, thank you so very much for a great job running the technical parts of the show tonight. It went very, very well, as you promised me going in it would. So thank you so very much.
You're
To
welcome.
everybody else, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. Most important, hope you learned something. After all, that's what we do these for. So until then, till next Wednesday, best of modeling to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening.